Hello, my name is Beck and welcome to my final hours reading vlog for the month of April in 2020. I have my other vlogs linked down below if you want to go and check those out. But I have two more books to read before April ends, and they are for the prompts of arithmancy, which is balance opposites, and that's read something outside your comfort zone. And I tend to read more fantasy and sci-fi, so I picked up All the Rage by Courtney, and this is a darker young adult contemporary book, and I believe it deals with rape culture and consent and bullying. I've only read 23 pages of this, so it's a very new read for me, and I'm planning on finishing it today, so let's see how that goes. And then I've also got Only Mostly Devastated, and this is for the Muggle Studies prompt, and that is read a book that's a contemporary, so like a muggle basically, no magic in it whatsoever. And obviously that's what this is. It's a male retelling of the musical Grease. I'm really excited about it. I know it's going to be cute and fluffy, and I'm just hoping that I give it more than 3 stars. I do also have Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray that I'm listening to on audiobook, and I'm borrowing that from a friend, so I'm 41% through that. I'm hoping to finish it, but it's not a priority. These two are the priority. I have been reading that audiobook for a little while, so I'm hoping that I can just get back into it, because I don't know why, for some reason I'm just not picking up an audiobook, and I just need to motivate myself to do it because the book is really enjoyable. So as soon as I pick it up, I'm going to get straight back into it. It's just that hurdle of I need to listen to this that I need to jump over. So I think I can do that. But so far it is Monday at 10:20 in the morning, and I'm aiming to do some reading. I've played Nintendo Switch this morning, which is a surprise to absolutely nobody because I'm obsessed with Animal Crossing, but the rest of the day I'm going to try and actually read some stuff that I have left on my TBR. Also, as soon as I finish these, that means that I have 40 books left on my overall reading pile that I have unread, which is an awesome achievement because a couple of years ago I had 205 books, and I've been trying to reduce it as much as possible. So this readathon has really helped me do that, and I'm really excited to get to the number 40. Hello, I have been living my best potato life because it's like 2:30 now, and I've pretty much sat in this chair for the entire day. Good thing though, I did finish All the Rage last night, and I finished this and then I wasn't sure what to rate it. So I wanted to give it a 4 stars and I wanted to give it a 5 stars. And I think I wanted to give it a 5 stars just because of the subject matter, because it's so dark and thematic, especially revolving around rape culture and victims not being believed and bullying that takes place at school that's more like hazing, and the role that women play in society, where the main character didn't want the baby being born in this book from one of the side characters to be a girl because she didn't want all of the things that girls suffer through to be inflicted upon this child that is eventually going to become an adult. But in the end, I think I'm going to settle on a 4 stars for this, and I'm settling on a 4 stars because sometimes in the narration I would kind of come out of the story. I'd feel a bit ajar because of the way it was told. There was certain things that the character said and did, or rather didn't do, and I got quite frustrated because it seemed like miscommunication. But also the character had been through a traumatic event, and so she was also a teenager trying to deal with that internally and not externalize it to make it real. And she kind of wanted to keep things as a secret so that other people wouldn't assume that that was who she is and that made up her as a person. She wanted to be this other version of herself that hadn't happened to. So I guess it made sense in a trauma perspective that she wanted to put these things to rest and not acknowledge them as part of herself. But that's also something that took me out of the story a little bit, because I could see this giant elephant in the room that wasn't being talked about and was deliberately being talked around. And because it was being talked around, I was like, am I supposed to not have guessed this certain thing? Has this thing happened off the page and I'm assuming that everyone knows about it, or that nobody knows about it? So it was a little bit alienating because of that reason, but everything else I liked quite a lot. The main character was quite frustrating. I liked that she wasn't a good person either, and I think towards the ending there was another thing that frustrated me. I can't say what because it will spoil the ending, but the way certain characterization happened in literally the last chapter, it seemed to go against what was previously set up. It kind of seemed like a bit of a 180, and thematically I understood it, but character work wise it just seemed a little bit odd. But that is, I guess, my thoughts on this one, and that means that arithmancy is finished, so I only have 1 book left for my owls. And I'm now 10 pages into this. I haven't been reading all day because I fell into a YouTube and Animal Crossing hole, and I ended up watching like an hour-long video on V.E. Schwab's channel. I'll link it if I remember, and it was her interviewing Jay Kristoff, an Aussie author. He wrote Nevernight, and they just had such an interesting discussion on their writing processes and stuff, and I love listening to people's creative process. So I really got sucked into that, and I sat here for an entire hour not moving and watching the entire video. And then before that I was on my Switch visiting people's towns that I'm friends with, so that really ate up my morning. And it is now like 2:30, and my aim is to get at least halfway if not further into this today, because it looks like tomorrow and Thursday I'm probably probably just going to be playing a lot of Animal Crossing and listening to my audiobook, so hopefully I can get all of the things that I have on my reading pile finished this week. It is the last day of the Owls Readathon and I'm so happy I finished this book, and I gave it unexpectedly a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the romance aspects of it, and it also had a subplot of like a cancer story as well with our main character's aunt, and yes, that did make me emotional, but I also really liked the way that Ollie, our main character, interrogated himself internally, so you got his justification for things, and it was actually quite self-aware and it wasn't petty or anything, and it was realistic for what a 17 to 18-year-old would think and do and how they would think through things, and it was really emotionally mature. So for that reason, I'm going to give this 5 stars. Obviously I really love Grease, so that was a bonus, but I really like this book. It was surprising because it's a contemporary, so I don't expect to give contemporary 5 stars unless they make me emotional and are consistent and are very well characterized, and that's what this was. I'm pretty sure I've said before that it was a male retelling of the musical Grease, and it did have the pink ladies, and it had obviously Ollie instead of Sandy and the summer romance between him and Will, the love interest, and it had a really nuanced way of exploring sexuality. There were a bunch of different characters in here that were not straight, they were gay or lesbian or bi, and it was just really supportive and interesting in the way that everything unraveled. It was done in a very respectful and realistic way, and I really enjoyed the way that characters stepped up for each other. So it was a positive book. I really liked it. 5 out of 5 stars. And this was for the prompt of Muggle Studies. And because this is the last clip of my Owls Readathon, I thought I would go over the rest of the books that I've read. So if I remember, I'll give my rating, and I'll also mention the Hogwarts subject that they're for. These are in no particular order, by the way. I have been reading these over the past month, so you can go and check out my other vlogs. I'll link them all down below if you have missed my thoughts about each one. But the next one that I'm going to talk about is Attack on Titan, and this is volume 8. And I gave this 5 out of 5 stars, and this was for Potions, which was read a book under 150 pages long. Then we have Sword of Destiny, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and this was for the prompt of History of Magic, I believe, and it was read a book with a witch or wizard in it. This has a witcher. Next is Scorched Dragons by Amy Kaufman, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. And I read this for the Transfiguration prompt, and I didn't have anything on my reading pile that matched except for this book. So I put it on hold in March so I could read it specifically for this readathon. And it is for the prompt of Transfiguration, which is a book that includes shape-shifting. I also read another middle grade, and that is Maya and the Rising Dark, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. And this was for... ooh, what was the prompt? It was for Herbology, which is the prompt of read a book starting with M. I also had Mooncold and Malice on my TBR as well, books I haven't read that I was thinking about for that prompt, but it turned out that they were a little bit too long. Because this is middle grade, I could read it a little bit faster, but Mooncold might be on my me TBR, so keep an eye out for that. Next, I finished All the Rage by Courtney Summers. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, and this one I read for Arithmancy, which was read a book that is outside your comfort zone, and I generally read like fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, apocalyptic, that kind of thing. So reading a contemporary or a dark contemporary is fairly outside my comfort zone. I don't really naturally reach for them unless I've just heard decent reviews or I'm intrigued by a synopsis, so All the Rage definitely fulfilled that prompt. The next prompt is Astronomy, and that was read a book while it is dark outside for the majority of the book, and I actually read half of this during the day and then I read half of it at nighttime, so I feel like this still counts. I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars from memory. For the prompt of Lumos, which was read a book with the majority of white on the cover, I read Blue Exorcist volume 8. Hey, volume 8 of Blue Exorcist and volume 8 of Attack on Titan. I did that completely by accident, but I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and unlike Attack on Titan, this is a manga that I probably won't be continuing on with, unfortunately. For Divination, I read The Archived, and this was to pick a random number from a random number generator, and I did that in my TBR video, so I picked between 3 books, and this is the one that won, so I have read this one. I gave it, I think, a 4 out of 5 stars, because it was better than a 3. I really like V.E. Schwab's writing, so I'm pretty sure I gave it at least a 4. And then for the last prompt, which was Care of Magical Creatures, initially I had Wicked as You Wish by Rinche Pecco, and the prompt for that is read a book with a creature with a beak on the cover, and there's a creature with a beak on the cover in the letter K. I switched this out because I knew that I wouldn't get to it, unfortunately. I do plan on reading it eventually, but I swapped this out with the second Diviner's book. It's not Before the Devil Breaks You, it's Lair of Dreams. I swapped this out with Lair of Dreams, so I still fulfilled the prompt technically because it's an audiobook that I listened to, and I'll pop it on the screen here so you can see the birds on the cover. But that is it for this readathon. I am so happy that I read like 8 books, considering I read, you know, not even 3 in March. That's a pretty big jump for me. I'm really happy about that. I'm still behind on my Goodreads challenge. I thought that when I read Only Mostly Devastated, that would count towards my 42 books that I had left unread on my reading pile, but it didn't because I hadn't clocked it yet. Because I received it from the publisher unsolicited, I forgot to scan it into my Goodreads. So I technically still have 41 books left on my reading pile, even though I finished Only Mostly Devastated and All the Rage. A bit of a bummer there, but that's okay. I'm probably going to read more of Attack on Titan because I did Duck Home, and so now I've got the 2 volumes on me that I hadn't read yet. So I've got 9 and 10, and this is what they look like. So I'm probably going to be reading those, or maybe I'll just start my May TBR early, because it is only like 10:30 in the morning at the moment. So I do have the rest of the day, and I've got most of this vlog edited, so I have choices. I also finished my Wizarding career, major visual arts, and I only had to read 4 books for that. So proud of that, proud of the fact that I finished 8 books, and just happy with this readathon overall, because I don't think I finished the readathon very successfully last year. So it's nice to actually have it completed this year. But if you're stuck with my vlogs for this long, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting and giving me a like and subscribe and all of that cool stuff. I really appreciate it, and I love chatting to you guys. So I'll chat to you down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.